Money is so uncomfortable to talk about, even between people that are married. I mean, the number one cause of divorce in America is money problems.
You were told the lie that student loans don't count against you. In my eyes, it was like, well, this is not bad debt, so it's okay.
Hey, you're in college, you're gonna get a credit card. Don't go too crazy with the credit card, but you're gonna need the credit card for emergencies.
After I graduated, I was supposed to be living the dream, so I acquired more debt and more debt. I think it just began to snowball from there.
We borrowed for everything.
Yep.
Want a new couch? Go finance it. Want a new TV? Go finance it. Want a new car? Go finance it.
You know, in the back of my mind, we need to save money, but I'm like, we have enough money. I can go out and buy and spend.
I couldn't fill my car with gas one month because we had less than $100 in the bank.
We were completely house poor.
That's where the stress came. I saw it in my husband.
This card has $10 left on it. This card has $20 left on it. And I'm like, there's no way I'm gonna be able to pay for all this food.
I had no control over my anger, my emotions, my spending.
We had personal loans, student loans, a mortgage we were trying to keep afloat.
We started to see our marriage drop away.
We nearly lost everything.
We were clueless.
And I didn't have any control.
I just didn't see how we could get out of the hole that I'd created.
There had to be a change.
This is it. This is where it starts, right here.
I was so sick and tired of being where we were at.
Every day I would look at my wife and look at our little newborn daughter, and I'd be like, I gotta do this.
I'll never, ever be in this again.
And we're working from the same place with the same goals.
We save, we have targets, we have a plan.
Now we're believing that we can actually do this.
Light at the end of the tunnel just kept getting bigger and brighter.
I can do this for however long it's gonna take.
I feel like I can do more things than I ever could.
I can work because I want to, not because I have to.
Nobody owns me anymore. Nobody.
Our lives were transformed.
You're free.
We changed our family tree.
This is what it's all about. This is what we work for.
I'm not afraid anymore, and I look forward to the future.
How many of you grew up like I did, not rich? Well, don't be so happy about it. My wife Sharon and I, we got out of college and got married. We were broke. Started off eating off a card table, driving a 1902 Pinto. For you young people, that's a car, not a bean. When we started off our lives married and broke. How many of y'all started off married and broke? Yeah, you know what I'm talking about. We ain't got money, honey, but we got love. Good thing, too, because we ain't got any money. Oh, that only lasts so long. I started buying and selling real estate in my early 20s, starting from nothing. I got rich, at least by a kid from Antioch, Tennessee standards. By the time I was 26 years old, I had about $4 million worth of real estate, a little over $1 million net worth, and I was making $200,000 a year. It was fun. That's $20,000 a month. Neighborhood I grew up in, we called that rich. That was fun. And I got that car I always wanted. You had a car you always wanted? If I ever get some money, I'm gonna get that car. You know the one I'm talking about, right? For me, it was a Jaguar. I wanted to get a Jaguar because nobody in my old neighborhood could spell Jaguar, much less get one. I mean, this was exotic. So I got me a Jaguar, man, and within 90 days, baby, I am a Jaguar. Right? We're having fun, man. We went to Hawaii, rednecks in Hawaii. Oh, man. We had so much fun. It's unbelievable. You know what we did? We went back. It was fun. You know, sometimes I hear these people say, all those rich people are miserable. Now, I'm not here to tell you money will make you happy. Money will not make you happy. It won't. Money will make you more of what you already are. If you're depressed and you get money, you'll be unbelievably depressed. If you're mean and you get money, Lord, help the people around you. It magnifies what's going on in your life. And the crazy that's in your life, the crazy that's in your family, they get crazier when you get money. And there's crazy in every family. Y'all know that, right? If you don't think there's crazy in your family, it's you. So we were rocking along. Everything was going pretty good. And I was working my tail off. I was taught to tell the truth, work hard, pay your bills the way you were. No different, right? Everything's going like it's supposed to be going, man. Things are happening right. I met God on the way up. Everything's going good, you know? And man, we're married, we're having babies. This is the American dream. This is the way it's supposed to be. But I had done some stupid stuff with money. How many of y'all ever done something stupid with money? And how many of you that didn't raise your hand have a problem with lying? I'd borrowed too much money in the bank that we were working with, the main bank. They got sold to another bank. I know that never happens in your area. And some guy in another city looks down and said, there's a kid in his 20s, owes us millions of dollars on real estate. I was doing flip this house before there was cable TV to tell you how. And he looked down and he said, man, this is scary. Let's limit this relationship, which is banker talk for ruin his life. And even though I wasn't late on my notes, it was commercial paper. They're allowed to do all kinds of stuff. I was stupid. I signed up for this trip and they called our notes. And we spent the next 2.5 years of our life losing everything we owned. We were sued. We were foreclosed on. We were sued so many times that the little guy with the lawsuit papers at the sheriff's department, those little pink lawsuit papers when he brings them to the front door, we're on a first name basis with the old boy. Sharon's making him cookies, you know, hey Harold, you want a cookie? You know, I mean, it's ridiculous. And finally, with a brand new baby and a toddler and our marriage hanging on by a thread, we were bankrupt. Guys, I was so scared I couldn't breathe. I was 28 years old. I got babies. My wife thinks she's married to an idiot, because she is. And we're so broke. They're cutting the lights off and the water off, and I didn't know what to do. There wasn't anybody out there talking about what to do. It was kind of dirty little secrets. You didn't tell anybody, you know? And so I remember standing in the shower with it so hot I could just barely stand there, and I'd just stand there and cry because I was so scared. If you've ever been there, I know how it feels. I've been there. I've done that. And I'll tell you this, it's a thorough teacher. I learned my lessons at the school of life. I got a PhD in DUMB. Dave, what qualifies you to teach about this stuff? Well, I've got all the letters and licenses and the finance degree, but what qualifies me is I've done it. That's what qualifies me. I've been there. I know when somebody calls me on my radio show and I can hear it in their voice how scared they are. I can return to those moments 30 years ago. I remember how it feels. And what this stuff does to a marriage, it's the #1 cause of divorce in North America today. Money fights, money problems, money stress. We didn't get a divorce. We held on to each other, but sometimes it's just to get a better grip, y'all. I mean, Sharon's from the hills of East Tennessee. Frying pan throwing there is an Olympic event, baby. I'd like to tell you I bounced back, but I didn't. I blamed everybody else. Sat around, it was the IRS's fault. It was the banker's fault. It was the president's fault. It was the Congress's fault. It was everybody's fault but mine. You ever do something stupid and blame everybody else for your stupidity? Turns out McDonald's does serve hot coffee. You got to decide at some point in your life, are you a victim or a victor? At some point, you got to make a call. And I sat around for a little while, and I was a victim and sucked my thumb, and oh, poor little old me. And then at some point, I just realized that wasn't working. I was having breakfast with one of my buddies, and he goes, you got enough lemons, you ought to make some lemonade, son. He said, you need to learn what happened, and you need to never do it again. So I started studying what the Bible has to say about money, and I started talking to old rich people. I didn't want to talk to young rich people. I had been him. He was stupid. I want to talk to people that got money and kept it. And old rich people told me the same thing the Bible did. It was called common sense. But common sense is so rare that it's like having a superpower. It sets you apart completely. And so we started doing this stuff in our life, and it started changing everything. It moved everything in our life. And all of a sudden, I mean, it was a little bit at a time. It was gradual. It didn't happen overnight. But I mean, we look up and all of a sudden, you know, we're out of debt. We clear it because you don't get to bankrupt everything. I mean, the IRS, the KGB, the IRS follows you, right? And student loans aren't bankruptable. You know that, right? And so we still had all this stuff to clean up. And so we're working, we got out of debt. And there wasn't any place to scream, I'm debt free, but I went out in the backyard and did it anyway, you know. I'm from Tennessee. We just yell at the moon. Come on, man. And, we started working this stuff. We're going, we're never going back. Never going back. I'm not living like this. I'm never going to put myself in a position. If American Express calls my house, it's a wrong number. I am never going back. When you have those moments in your life, it changes everything, y'all. And changed the trajectory of our lives. I met God on the way up, but I got to know him on the way down. It changed the trajectory of everything. My faith, my marriage, my business acumen, my leadership skills, everything started shifting and forming around this. And now here we stand all these years later. It's amazing. Not only did we straighten up Dave and Sharon Ramsey, but we told other people what we did, and some of them started doing it. Millions of them started doing it over the next few decades. And now it's like a thing. It's like my name is like a verb. I'm Dave Ramseying that. It's what are you doing? It's like a cuss word in some houses, right? But all that comes from just saying, I'm not living like this anymore. And when you hit that point, it changes things. It changes everything. And then we started saying, okay, these principles that we're learning, what do you do first? Do you save money and invest? That's important. Do you get insurance? Do you have your emergency fund first, or do you get out of debt? What about paying off your house? What about building wealth? What about the power of compound interest and getting that working for you to be a millionaire? Which of these things do you do first? And it was confusing, and people said, I don't know what to do first. And I said, well, I don't either. And then I just ran into this thing, and it said, you can do anything if you do it a bite at a time. That's how you eat an elephant, a bite at a time. And I ran 2 full marathons one day, about 12 or 14 years ago. 2 in one day, my first and my last. In my mind, when I finally went across the finish line, I was sprinting. The video shows otherwise. Looked more like this. Guy wearing a tutu passed me, okay? I'm just saying it wasn't pretty. But you know what? I finished. I'm not telling you the time, it was ugly. But I finished. And the only reason I finished? I ain't quit. The only reason I finished was I took another step. And then I took another step. And then I took another step. And it hurt. And it wasn't fun. And I was whining, y'all. I thought whining was a little known form of prayer, But I took another step and I didn't quit. And so we started figuring out that good financial planning and applying these principles in order works, and we call them the baby steps. Baby step 1 is you save $1,000. Baby step 2, as soon as you've done that, is you work the debt snowball. And then baby step 3, once you've done that, you go back to that $1,000 and raise it up to a fully funded grandma's rainy day fund of 3 to 6 months of expenses. Once that's done, then we do 4, 5, and 6 simultaneously. We start working on retirement, kids' college, and any extra money we throw at paying off the house early. And then that brings us to baby step 7, where we just live and give like no one else, where we build wealth and we're outrageously generous. And that's our outline of what we're going to go through together. This is the process we're going to go through together to take these principles of living debt-free, of living on a budget, these principles, and how do we apply them in what order? That's the order. Baby step 1, $1,000 in your starter emergency fund, your beginner emergency fund. I used to call it a baby emergency fund, and this airhead said, I don't want a baby. That wasn't what I was talking about. It's a starter emergency fund. Okay, it's just a little bit of distance between you and a flat tire or a bad alternator. You follow me? And that way it's not on the credit card. We're just getting a little bit of distance, plus it's something you can do pretty easy. You see, this is your easiest baby step, because it's only $1,000. Some of you already got $1,000. Just name it baby step 1 in your mind right now. Check, you're done with this one, right? But some of you don't have squat. And you gotta have a garage sale this weekend, and you gotta put everything on Craigslist this weekend, and you don't need to see the inside of a restaurant again unless you're working there, right? You got to start piling up some money and get you $1,000. I meet people make $80,000 a year doing baby step 1. They're crying. It's the first time I ever had $1,000. It's because it's all just blowing right through. You know what I'm talking about? It comes in and goes back out with other people's names on it. But now we got a plan where we are going to win with this income that we work so hard to earn. It's the hardest baby step. It's the easiest baby step. It's easy because it's only $1,000. It's the hardest because this is the point in the process. You're going to decide whether or not you're a freaking genius or not. Are you going to keep doing stuff the way you've been doing and expecting a different result? That's the definition of insanity. Are you going to invent your own plan? I'm doing financial peace-ish. Ish is a wish. Decide. It's like somebody hires a personal trainer. He comes in, he's got an 8-pack, you got a keg, and you're arguing with him. Whatever he says eat that if you want that. Whatever workout he says do that workout if you want that. If you don't want that, if you want that ish, then do it ish. But ish is a wish. So decide what you're gonna do. Are you gonna reinvent something that millions of people have proven to work? Or are you just gonna shut up and do it? That's kind of blunt. I think you hurt my feelings. Good. It's my spiritual gift. Because I love you. I love you. I know who you are. I'm proud of you. You're incredible people. But you got to do some things different if you want some different things. Agreed? Say yes. So you got to decide. But it's funny, man. People they're sitting in the middle of their stupidity. I mean, we're like a toddler in a poopy diaper. Yeah, I know it smells bad, but it's warm and it's mine. I get hate mail because people don't want to cut up their stupid credit cards. Isn't that ridiculous? I mean, you're really short on things to write hateful things about, aren't you? Really? It's unbelievable, y'all. It's a really simple idea. Try this stuff. If it doesn't work, you can go back to your way. We know what the results of that are. You're sitting right now as the sum total of the things that have happened to you and the things that you have done with your money. That's how you got where you are right now. And you can't control the things that happen to you, but you can control the things you've done. And most of where we are is because of what we did, good or bad. If you're winning, it's because you were doing some winning stuff, right? Winning is no accident. So that's how the baby steps work. You got to make a decision. Am I going? I got a friend of mine that's worth about $2 million. I was on his podcast the other day, and he said, you know, I actually did your stuff the other day. He goes, I did it about 4 months ago. And I said, really? We've known each other for 10 years. And he goes, yeah, but I'm a millionaire, so I thought I was doing okay. But he said, I got to looking at it, and he said, I realized you had this stuff figured out. And I said, wow, that's insightful, you know. We were kind of kidding back and forth. Y'all see what I'm saying. I mean, it's kind of a joke. But he said, you know what changed everything? When I decided to submit myself to someone else's ideas, he said, that's when it changed everything. Am I willing to submit and try something that I've never tried to get something I've never gotten? That's a hard thing for people to do. Change is hard. Even if we don't like where we are, we seem to be stuck in it. Change is hard. So you got to get up out of that. Say, no more. That's the hard part of this baby step, because this is the point you're going to decide whether you're going to do this or whether this is a nice theory from this crazy man on the radio from Tennessee. Is it just a nice theory, or am I really going to change my family tree? Am I really going to do what it takes? See, I figured this out. If you will live like no one else, later you can live and give like no one else. The Bible says there's no discipline that's pleasant at the time, but it yields a harvest of righteousness. No one wins without paying a price to win. No one wins without paying a price to win. There are no accidental, random lightning strike winners. People win as an intentional series of acts. They plant things in the ground in their life, and those things grow, and it changes everything. That's why people win. And that's why this has been so successful, because we convince people that you're in control of your destiny. You're in control of your destiny. You're in control of your destiny. Not 100% of it, I understand that. God plays a part, his blessings play a part. Sometimes other mean people do stuff to you. I know it happens to me too. I get that, okay? But most of all, I'm in control of my destiny. The only variables I can control are me, and I'm gonna control that variable. We're gonna be under control for the first time ever. We had to do it because we were so scared and broke we couldn't breathe. Some of you don't have to do it, and that's almost dangerous because you might just kind of kick back and not do it. Submit yourself to something different. Try something different. That's why this is the hardest baby step. Here's how the 9 lessons are structured in Financial Peace University. The first 4 lessons are where we cover the baby steps. Now, once you've got those things done and you understand them, you don't have to complete the baby steps. Then you go up here, and now it's time to really do what the wealthy people do, okay? There's 2 things you do if you're gonna win football. There's 2 things you're gonna do if you're gonna win at wealth. You have good offense, you know how to build wealth, and you have good defense. You don't make stupid mistakes that cause you to lose it all. You have to learn the defense and you have to learn the offense. So you can do those first 4 lessons and quit, but you're gonna mess up because you don't know how to play offense yet and really build the big wealth, and you don't know how to play defense and keep from losing it. And you know how to put the right coverages in place and do the right kinds of things. You understand enough about the financial world to know what to do to manage the wealth that's coming your way and how to maximize it. And so the first thing we do is we get the jet off the ground. And by the way, if you're ever studying a jet airplane, they burn most of their fuel at takeoff. When you get up in the thin air, it doesn't take a lot of fuel to keep it aloft. And it takes even less fuel to land it because landing is basically a controlled crash. Isn't that comforting? And so that's what you're dealing with. So what we're doing here is we're getting this thing off the ground with this gazelle intensity. Y'all feel it? And we're gonna do baby step 1, we're not doing anything else until we do that. We're gonna do baby step 2, we're not doing anything else until we do that. Then we're gonna do baby step 3, we're not doing anything else until we do that. And then we're gonna do 4, 5, 6 at the same time, which is gonna lead us into 7. And we're gonna walk you through that. But the thing is, you don't quit there, you keep going and you get the other lessons because that's your offense and that's your defense. And you gotta learn to play both. You gotta learn to build the wealth and protect the wealth. And it's really not rocket science. There's no real insight. There's no hocus pocus stuff. It's stuff you should have been taught in high school, but we weren't. And we're gonna go through it in a way you put the cookies on a shelf where everybody can reach them, and you're gonna do this stuff. But you don't get to bail just when you get up, because you'll just go right back down, okay? You gotta get up and you gotta have the fuel to maintain the offense and the defense. Everybody understand that? Say yes. Yes. Tens of millions of families now have followed these baby steps. We know that from book sales and Financial Peace University sales and radio listenership and all of that. That's not an exaggeration. Tens of millions of families have done these steps, and they absolutely work. You know, it started out with me teaching this stuff with a bad suit and an overhead projector. Now we've got audio-visual values, you know? I mean, it's like, wow, you know? And I was just standing up there and I had a little class called Life After Debt. 4 people came the first night I taught it. It was 26 weeks long. I'm getting you out. This is boot camp, baby. People cried in that class. They did. But they got out. One guy's wife was an engineer and she cried every class. And he came to me early one night before class. He said, would you please not make her cry tonight? I said, just tell her to, for one night, don't do stupid stuff. And I promise not to make her cry. Just stop telling everybody in the whole group the stupid stuff's okay. And it's not okay for y'all either. You know, I ran into him, that was 25 years ago. I ran into him the other day. He's a multimillionaire now. And she just loves me now because she knew I loved her, but she was just, man, she was hard-headed, you know? But we started out that way. It's $569 to go through this class. Was it worth it? He's worth millions of dollars now. I think he got a good return on investment, didn't he? Except for the crying part, but yeah. You know, God's blessed us at our company. We worked our tails off, and you know, you work your tail off for 25 years, you're an overnight success, right? Ramsey Solutions has exploded, and it's just amazing. My life is so good now, and one of the best things that's happened is obviously it's too big a movement now for me to do it, and we've got to think about the next generation and other people to carry these messages, and we've got a whole team of men and women now who are carrying these messages.
I was born the year my parents filed for bankruptcy, and so you could say that I had a front row seat of watching Dave and Sharon Ramsey figure out how money works. I don't think I realized that I had such a strong foundation, financially speaking, of that knowledge until I left home, because I realized that money is such a stressful part of so many people's lives.
I've been dealing with money for over 20 years. That didn't prevent me from doing some financial stupid back in the day. I had credit card debt. I did home equity loans. We've all made those kinds of mistakes. I've worked with people throughout my life, whether in sport or in my jobs, people that help me think bigger and really try harder. Being around the right kind of people, the right kind of information, it's helped me as a father. It's helped me as a husband. It's truly impacted my life.
Not everyone's story is on the verge of bankruptcy. It's just these little decisions they're making is affecting their entire story. Having no clue what they're doing with their money, maybe in debt here and there, who knows? But that's gonna keep them from living out the things that they value and do the things that they wanna do in life.
We all go through tough times, and we're a result of the people that reach out a hand to guide us. And so being focused on serving people to the best of my ability, that's who I am. That's what's in my DNA. And so I see this as an opportunity for me to pass that forward, to be able to be that source of hope, that coach that tells you yes you can and that pushes you harder.
It changes their whole life and their whole perspective. Suddenly this topic that was so heavy on them, on their marriage, suddenly has levity and control, and they feel like they have guidance.
It's a powerful moment when the light bulb goes off because they're starting to believe, yes, I can.
Family trees are changed, legacies are gonna be different because of this message. That's why I do it.
I was good with saving money, but I was also good with spending all the money I saved.
Nobody teaches you that when you come together, there needs to be transparency around your finances, and you've got to pull them together.
He doesn't like the word budget. He does not like that word.
Still does something.
To him, it's just like, no, it tells me I can't do anything.
When we first got married, finances was my deal, and it had always been my deal. It's something I enjoyed. I love the spreadsheets. I love the data.
He was very spontaneous, and I was very much a planner, and we clashed a lot.
We never talked numbers, so it was just kind of something that we kind of just grazed over.
We have enough money, but we just have enough.
I just kept looking at the numbers and I'm like, we are out of money again.
I didn't want to let him know about my money because I didn't want him to take control of it. I wanted to keep my money, and I thought I was doing a good job with money, even though I wasn't.
I was playing the credit card shuffle game. I was shuffling no payments, doing all this stuff, and realized that was one of the biggest stressors in my life.
I pulled my credit report, and there was like $20,000 in credit card debt that was in my name that I had no idea I had.
Yeah, I did that.
I knew what the problem was, but I had no solution. It was almost a game, but it really wasn't a fun game.
It got really uncomfortable.
We're really leading separate lives.
We weren't doing it right.
All right, confession. I am a spender, and I hated budgeting. That's right. Some of you probably just fell out of your seats that Dave Ramsey's daughter hated budgeting, but it's the truth. It is just not naturally what I'm good at. I'm kind of not great at details, and just the idea of budgeting was always so hard for me to grasp. I actually could understand it, but doing it is what was difficult. And I can even remember when Winston and I, my husband, when we were engaged, we went to premarital counseling, and even our premarital counselor said, you guys should do a mock budget together. I was like, how much did my dad pay you to say that? Because I was like, oh my gosh, I know we need to. Just doing it is so hard. And so when Winston and I got married, we didn't budget. We didn't budget for the first 6 months of our marriage. And then finally one day, Winston came to me and he was like, Rachel, we need to do a budget together. And I just remember thinking, oh, you're one of those, aren't you? But I was like, okay, I know I need to. We need to do this together. Just doing it I was like, okay, let's do it. So I remember we sat down in our little condo that we were living in at a kitchen table, and we did our first month's budget. And you guys, it was a disaster. It was terrible. I think we budgeted $50 for food or something for the whole month. It was so bad. The second month, I remember it got a little bit better. We learned from our mistakes. We're like, okay, let's adjust these categories. But it was still a little rough. The third month, it actually started working. So much so that we were like, oh my gosh, this is great. This is what living on a budget feels like. This is amazing. And Winston and I are not perfect with money, but I can confidently tell you that we've done a budget pretty much from that point ever since. So much so that a budget became a part of our life, that we took a trip to Florida one year before we had kids. It was kind of our last big hoorah. And we were flying down to Florida, and Winston looked over at me in the plane, and he was like, hey, Rachel, listen, I want you to relax on this trip. I don't want you to worry about anything. So you don't have to think about the budget at all, and you can just spend money. Yes, he did. Yes, he did. I was like, wait, what? I was like, for real, I don't have to think about the budget, and I can just spend money? And he was like, yeah. I mean, if you're bumping up against the trip budget, I'll let you know, but yeah, just enjoy. I gave him the biggest kiss in the world. I was like, babe, you're letting me live in my strengths. Like, this is what I'm good at. And I remember we got down to Florida, checked into our hotel, went out by the pool, and it was one of those pools where like waiters and waitresses like walk around and you can like order drinks and food to your seat at the pool. It was awesome. And so this waitress walked by and I was like, hey ma'am, do you guys have guacamole? And she was like, oh yeah, sure. I was like, oh, I'd love some, thank you. So she brings it, I'm eating it, it's delicious, and I was getting thirsty, so I asked her then, can I have a menu to look at the drinks? So when I open the menu, the first thing I see is appetizers. I was like, oh, and I see chips and guacamole. $23. $23. I was like, did the avocados fall from heaven? Like, what makes guacamole $23? I was like, it's okay, Rachel, just spend the money, just spend the money. So then I go down and I see drinks. And I see lemonade. I was like, oh, that's great. In my head, I thought, that's what I want to order. And I look over, $18. $18. I thought, what? This is crazy. And at that moment, the waitress was right in front of me and she said, okay, what would you like to drink? And I just had this battle going on inside of me. And I remember thinking, Rachel, just spend the money. Spend the money. Like, go back to your roots. Go back to who you were. And I looked at her and I said, I'll take the lemonade, please. She brought it over and I took a sip and I was like, well, that was $1.50. Jeez. And in that moment, I started spiraling. I started freaking out because in my head, I was like, I just spent so much money on pool snacks that tonight at dinner, we can't get an appetizer. We're gonna have to go to Walgreens and buy granola bars for breakfast. Like, what have I just done? And I was just panicking. And in that moment, I realized I was not panicking because of all the crazy expensive prices at the hotel, even though it was ridiculous, I know. But I realized in that moment that this was the first time at that point in years that I felt so out of control with my money, that I had no clue where my money was going. And that's the moment I realized that a budget does not limit your freedom. A budget gives you freedom. A budget gives you permission to spend. So I'm telling you guys, this is going to completely change the way you handle money because you're going to have control. But if you've never done a budget before, give it 3 months to get into a rhythm because it's going to take some time. Winston and I totally are a testimony to that. It takes about 3 months. And you also will realize that money is relational. You have to do this with your spouse, or if you're single, find a friend who is good at money who can look over your budget with you. Now, in relationships, we have spenders and we have savers, and we have nerds and we have free spirits. Now, the nerd enjoys doing the budget. The nerd loves this, right? The nerd is so excited that I'm talking about the budget right now. You probably are like pulling up Excel right now and you're just pumped, like you're so happy. Now, that's Winston in our marriage. And then you have the free spirit who feels controlled by the budget. And that's me. Naturally, that's how I feel. And you have to understand you both add such value to the budgeting process. The free spirits give the nerds a life. We give the nerds fun. We say, hey, you can enjoy life. But the nerds help us free spirits not go broke. So you have to realize neither one is right or wrong. You're just different. So how do you come together when there's such differences and make this work? Well, we call this the budget committee meeting. Now, in the budget committee meeting, you will meet with your spouse to review next month's budget. So here are a few rules for this, okay? Nerds, you need to create the budget. Why? Because you're good at it. You like doing it. We think it's a little weird, but you do. You enjoy it. So create the budget. And then when you're sitting with your free spirit, thank your free spirit for being there because they probably really don't want to be there. But thank them for their presence. This is great. And then I want you to show the budget to your free spirit and then be quiet. Don't say anything else. All your opinions, nerds, are on the budget. Be quiet. All right, free spirits, you must come to the meeting. You have to show up. You also have to be realistic, and you can never use the phrase, whatever you want to do. It's all gonna be fine, whatever you want to do. You can't say that. And also, free spirits, you have to have an opinion and actually change something on the budget. Now, this can be something small. I mean, seriously, you could just lower the food category by $50 and up maybe your gas category by $50. Like whatever you want to do. Like you can make it really small changes, but you have to change something. Because when you do this, you start working together and you start to see that this whole process starts to work. And when you're intentional with your money, you will find that the budget gives you control you never knew you had. But you must do a budget every single month before the month begins. This will be a key to your success. And also your budget needs to be zero-based, a zero-based budget. So that means your income minus expenses equals zero. Every single dollar is put into a category. Now you're gonna start your budget with giving. So why is this important? Because giving changes so much of who you are, and especially if you're married as a couple, you guys doing this together and start to create the habit of living your life with an open hand changes so much. Now, I do tell couples to give a little until you can give a lot. Now, after giving, you'll save money. Now, if you're in debt, you're going to save your $1,000 starter emergency fund as fast as you can, and then you're gonna cut back on your savings to pay off all of your debts. And then finally, your third priority is spending. Now, in spending, you're gonna take care of your family first, and we call these your 4 walls. The 4 walls are food, utilities, shelter, and transportation. Now, you need to be clothed as well, but you probably have enough clothes to get you by.
When we were going through it, I went to one of those little dollar movie rental places outside the gas station, and it wasn't on our budget. I didn't have, that was like off the grid type thing. I got in the car, she called me, she was like, "Did you just spend $1.05?" I was like, "Yeah, it was just $1.05," and this was earlier on. And she's like, "I got the budget down to the nickel, and you just messed it up with this purchase." I was like, "Oh my gosh, what is going on?"
I was down to the penny, and if you spent anything extra, if you didn't tell me, it was like, you messed up my numbers. You don't understand how many hours I put into that budget, So he learned,
So usually at this point, people ask, okay, so how do you budget? Well, we're gonna walk through a sample budget and we're going to use EveryDollar. This is an incredible app that our team created and it makes it so easy, you guys. It's so great. So when you create your first budget, you're going to use EveryDollar, which you're gonna have access to through your membership at financialpeace.com. So we're gonna walk through some budget categories and some recommended percentages. Did you hear me? Recommended, okay? These are gonna be guidelines, kind of guardrails, not rules, okay? Because some people freak out when they hear this because your percentages might change depending on your situation. If you're living in Balatrana, New Mexico, that's gonna be a whole lot different than if you're in San Francisco or Manhattan, okay? Or if you have 18 kids versus you're a single guy, things are gonna change. It's gonna look a little different. So for this example, we're gonna use a $65,000 income. And so that's gonna be about $4,000 a month after taxes. So your first line item is giving, like we talked about. So 10% there, which will be $400. And then you'll go to savings, which will be different. But for this example, we'll say 10%, which is $400. But again, could change depending on where you are in the baby steps. Food is around 10 to 15%, so that'll be about $600. Now for food, the cruises, we always break out groceries and eating out because eating at restaurants for me is like my love language. I love eating out. So even if we have like $15 left at the end of the month, I'm like, cheap Mexican food or Chick-fil-A, like let's do something with it. So I like to see it broken out. It just helps us, but you do what you want. Next up will be your mortgage or rent. And so this will be 25% of your take-home pay. So that's gonna be $1,000 for this example. Next will be utilities, which is 5 to 10%. So that's $400. Transportation, this is gonna be like oil changes, gas, that kind of thing. That'll be around 10%, so $400. Next will be kind of your fun money. So I love this because each person, if you're married, needs to have their own line item for their fun money. So I like this because when I'm at Target and I need to buy mascara or something, I'm not like texting Winston. I'm like, hey, I'm gonna buy $6 mascara, just let you know. No, I have some money slotted for me. It's my fun money. There it is. And Winston, when he goes to a hunting store or an outdoor store, like he can go buy some stuff. So each person has a number, a dollar amount that you can spend at your discretion. So for this, we'll say is 5 to 10%, so $200. Clothing will be around 5 to 10% as well. It's probably my favorite category there, $200. Entertainment, this will be around 5 to 10% as well, so that's $200. And then miscellaneous will be 5 to 10%, which is $200. Now, miscellaneous, don't skip this one. This is like the catch-all category because stuff is going to come up throughout the month that you do not anticipate, AKA for us this month. We have 2 kids' birthday parties. Why does everyone it feels like everyone's birthday's in the same month. So I'm like, oh my gosh, I totally forgot. So I've had to order stuff on Amazon. It goes in the miscellaneous category. Thank you, miscellaneous category. It saves us so many months. So don't skip that one. Now, your budget may also include other categories like health insurance if it's not deducted from your paycheck or gym membership. So just make sure that you plan for everything you spend money on in the month. Make sure you put it in the budget. Okay, if you have debt, you need to plan for that in your budget as well. This is when you're really going to feel the pain of those payments. My friend Chris Hogan says that debt is a thief. And when you have to cut back on a lot of these categories to pay off debt, you will see how debt steals your paycheck. We'll show you exactly how to pay off debt using the debt snowball in the next lesson. But now on some of these categories, we recommend using cash for them. So things like groceries, clothing, entertainment, those things, actually cash those out. Because what happens is when you pay with cash, not only do you usually pay less, but you feel cash. It's like emotional. You see it and it's like, oh, you're at the counter, to buy your sweater and you're like, do I really want to spend this money? It just hurts. You feel it. Versus swiping a credit card. A debit card's a little different because it's money coming out of your checking account. But still, there's not a lot of emotion. When you swipe a card, you keep the card and you get the item. With cash, there's like an exchange that happens. You feel it. And what's great is it's a great accountability partner because you're going to have an envelope and it's going to say groceries on it. You're gonna carry that around, and when it starts getting low, okay, I'm gonna have to be smarter when I go to the grocery store because when the money's gone, it's gone. Now you can use envelopes. I sometimes like to get clips for each category and put them in a wallet that I use, but whatever you wanna do. But again, it's great because it's gonna show you really how to stay on track with those categories that you tend to overspend on. Now, doing a budget is critical to your success, you guys. Not only in baby step 1, but throughout this entire course. People who win with money happen to their money. They don't let their money just happen to them. And remember, you have to be intentional with your money, and the best way to do that is with a budget. And the best part is that once this becomes a habit in your life, you can't imagine living life without a budget.
Through Financial Peace University, we started working on a budget together, which was probably the greatest day of your life, me being interested in money and a budget. We actually call it a cash flow plan because a budget seems way too constricting to me.
I was a free spirit. Trust me, I did not want
Our budget meetings were always difficult. We never had a budget meeting that was smooth, ever. Even to this day when we have them, I pray going in and I'm like, Lord, please soften Eloy's heart, let it be okay, and please let him want to do this.
Let me describe.
I realized that I was the free spirit and he was the nerd, and that was okay. And it really opened up the possibility of my participating in the finances.
We learned how to compromise, and that compromise extended around other things that we were going through as a relationship.
The biggest problem was that I was a very selfish person. It was all about me. As much as that's not necessarily a financial thing, makes you realize what our role is in the whole process.
It gave me hope that I could change the person in the mirror and that we could get together on our finances and we could make our marriage work.
It's all about give and take. There's certain things about the budget that he wants more of, such as food. And then other increases that I want is clothing.
Going on this journey by myself as a single girl, I didn't have an accountability partner, so I had to think about it in a way that really impacted me differently. I don't have children, so it wasn't like, oh, this could have gone toward their college fund, but I can say, oh, this could have gone to starting that fashion business that you want to start, or this could have gone to a nice handbag or a nice trip. I had to value things a little bit differently.
As we began to do the budget, Scott began to express to me that he valued how I brought fun to what we could do with money. All of a sudden, we were back together.
When you can come home and have a conversation with your spouse about finances when you never could before, and it's not an argument and it's not scary anymore. Each week you want to have a budget meeting just so you can know that you're on the same page.
A lot of people go on diets or try to do quick fixes with their finances, but then they're back into using credit cards and back into debt. And this taught us how to have a life change to change the way you think.
You know, for a lot of people sitting out there, they say, Chris, you have no idea my situation. You don't know how much stupid or silly I've done with money. I don't care what your situation is. We've all messed up with money. We've all made mistakes where we wish we could go back and undo some things. Regardless of where you are, I know you can fix this. As a coach, I've seen it happen where people start to believe, they start to think different. And the next thing you know, they start to just feel this energy inside of them. And that builds momentum. You're going to have an opportunity to learn the information you should have been taught years ago. You're going to learn the process of how do I effectively deal with money and what's my plan? How do you do the things to help build your dreams? But more importantly, how do you protect yourself? So we're going to be walking through a lot of information. We're going to be talking to you about budgeting. We're going to talk to you about attacking debt and giving yourself a raise. We're going to talk to you about how do you build up an emergency fund and why is it even needed in your life? Then we're going to start to help you build the pathway for your dreams. That's with investing. And we'll talk about the importance of how do you protect that with insurance and real estate and mortgages. And there's a lot of information. How do you live on this plan moving forward, right? How do you help pass this information on to help your kids? You get an opportunity to begin to go from just dreaming to actually doing. But the gap in between those two, this is where the work comes in. And this is exactly where Financial Peace University is going to guide you each step of the way. It's almost like being let in on a secret. But guess what? It's not a secret. It's information that's available to you. I want you to work through every single lesson and do your every dollar budget every month. And in the next lesson, Dave's going to walk you through baby step number 2, paying off all your debt except for the house using the debt snowball. I'm telling you, you're going to love it. Now, at the end of each lesson, you're going to have 1 minute to write down one thing you're going to do this week because of what you just learned. So are you ready? What's your 1 minute takeaway?